My name is Nettie, and I am 56 years old. I have lived in Portland, Oregon my entire life. For the last 3 decades, my world has been measured in 2 things: the soft scent of roses and damp earth in my flower shop, and the brilliant smile of my son Julian. After his father passed when he was just 10, it was the 2 of us against the world. I worked 2 jobs to keep a roof over our heads and a future in his eyes. All of my sacrifices felt worthwhile when I saw him grow into a kind, successful man, a software engineer in Seattle. So when he called me last spring, his voice bubbling over with a joy I had not heard since he was a boy, to tell me he and his wife Chloe had found their perfect starter home, my heart soared with his. Then he mentioned the down payment. The market was fierce, he explained. All cash offers were swooping in. Their loan was approved, but to make their offer competitive, they needed a substantial amount of cash up front. It was a bridge loan, he said, just until they could settle and refinance. I did not hesitate for a single second. The $85,000 I had carefully saved from his father's life insurance policy, my rainy day fund, my only real safety net for the years when my hands might not be able to trim stems anymore, I wired it to him the very next day. It was what family does. Months drifted by. I saw glimpses of their new life on social media, photos of a painted porch, a kitchen unpacked. Then came the pictures of a gathering. Chloe's parents, her sister all laughing around a long table in what was clearly a housewarming dinner. No one had called me. No one had invited me. When I finally got Julian on the phone, his excuse was flimsy rushed. It was a last-minute thing with her side mom. "We will do a proper one with you later, I promise." I clung to that promise like a life raft. The proper invitation never arrived. Instead, 3 months after my money bought that house, a group text popped up on my phone from Chloe, addressed to her own family members, announcing a founding family feast. My heart sank into my shoes. I texted Julian separately, trying to sound light. Did my invitation get lost in the mail? His reply was not a call, not an explanation. It was a cold block of text that will be etched in my memory forever. It said, "Mom, Chloe thought it would be kind of weird to invite you since we are framing this as a family-only thing. Her parents and sister are flying in. It is just for the core family unit right now. We will see you soon, though." I read those words in the back of my quiet shop, the evening light fading, and I felt the foundation of my whole life crack open beneath me. Before we go any further into this story, I want to know where you are joining me from today. Is it a rainy afternoon where you are, or a quiet morning? Please take a second and type your city or state into the comments below. I truly love seeing where everyone is. If you have ever felt that cold, lonely shock of being excluded, if these words are touching a familiar place in your heart, please hit that like button. It is a small gesture, but it tells me you are here with me. And if you want to follow along with this story and others consider subscribing, I have a feeling we might understand each other. The quiet in my shop after closing time had always been a comfort, a soft blanket of peace after a day of customers and chatter. That night the silence was deafening, oppressive. I could not move from the old wooden stool by the workbench. My phone sat face up, that string of text messages glowing like an accusation. I must have read his words 50 times. Each time a different phrase would leap out and sting me. Weird. Family only. Core family unit. The clinical, almost corporate sound of that last one made my stomach turn. It sounded like a clause in a contract, one that had been revised to exclude me. My fingers were trembling as I tapped his name to call. It rang 4 times, then went to his generic voicemail greeting. "Hi, you've reached Julian. Leave a message." The sound of his cheerful, everyday voice was a fresh wave of pain. I swallowed hard. "Julian, honey, it's Mom. I got your text. Can we please just talk about this? Call me when you can. I love you." I hung up, already feeling foolish. The ball was in his court, and I was just sitting on my stool waiting. The reply came not as a call, but as another text, dry and dismissive. "Can talk now. Crazy busy with work stuff. You're making a bigger deal out of this than it is. We'll see you soon. Okay, soon." It was the same empty word from before. I put the phone down, my vision blurring. I decided to give it until morning. Maybe in the daylight with a cup of coffee in my hand, it would make sense. Maybe he would call and explain it was all a terrible misunderstanding, that of course I was family, that Chloe's words came out wrong. I clung to that maybe with everything I had. I locked up the shop and climbed the narrow stairs to my apartment, each step feeling heavier than the last. I did not sleep. I lay in the dark, staring at the ceiling, listening to the old building creak, and replaying a lifetime of memories, a tiny hand in mine crossing the street. Science fair projects spread across the kitchen table, a proud hug at his college graduation. Had I imagined the closeness? Had I mistaken my dependence on him for a mutual bond? The call finally came the next day, just after 2 in the afternoon. I was wrist-deep in potting soil, transplanting a row of lavender, trying to lose myself in the simple, honest work. When I saw his name, my heart jumped into my throat. I wiped my hands on my apron and answered, "Hi, Mom. What is up?" His tone was flat impatient, like I was a telemarketer interrupting his important day. The familiar warmth I was desperate for was entirely absent. I took a slow breath, trying to steady my voice. I wanted to talk about the text, Julian, about the housewarming dinner. I saw the pictures online. I was confused, and I have to be honest, I was really hurt. There was a long pause on the other end, filled only with the faint sound of his keyboard clicking. Then he sighed, a loud, exasperated sound that traveled down the line and wrapped around my heart like a vice. "Mom, come on. You are overreacting. It was just one dinner." Chloe had this whole vision for it, wanting it to be perfect for when her parents visited for the first time. Having in-laws, there would have changed the whole dynamic. It was supposed to be intimate. In-laws. The word landed like a slap. It was a legal term, a categorical term that placed me firmly on the periphery. But I helped with the down payment. I heard myself say the word soft and pleading. I was not trying to weaponize it. I was trying to remind him of the connection, the partnership I thought we had. It was a catastrophic error. His voice turned sharp, defensive in an instant. "Whoa, hold on. Are you seriously holding the money over us right now? It was a gift, right? You said it was a gift. We're grateful, but it doesn't mean we owe you a seat at every single meal for the rest of our lives." The accusation in his voice, the rewriting of my sacrifice into a transaction, left me speechless. I could hear muffled talking in the background. Then Chloe's voice came on the line, smooth and calm. "Nettie, hi, it's Chloe. I think maybe there's just been a little miscommunication about boundaries. We're in a new chapter. Julian and I are building our own family unit now, and that means sometimes we need to create spaces that are just for that immediate core. It's healthy. It's about us solidifying our foundation as a married couple." Her words were a practiced script, each one chosen to sound reasonable and unassailable, while effectively erasing me. I was no longer his mother. I was a boundary to be managed. I do not even remember how the call ended. I think I just muttered "okay" and hung up. I sat there on the floor of my shop, dried lavender petals sticking to my jeans, feeling shattered. Later that evening, Margot, my dearest friend who had worked beside me for 25 years, found me still sitting there in the dim light. She took one look at my face and knelt down beside me. "What happened, sweetheart?" I just handed her my phone, the text thread open. She read it, her lips pressing into a thin, hard line. When she looked up, her eyes were blazing with a protective fury I had never seen before. "Oh, Nettie, no. This is not about boundaries. This is about using you. Your money bought the bricks for their little core family fortress, and now they are pulling up the drawbridge on you, and they are making you feel crazy for wanting to cross it." Margot's words echoed in my mind for days. Using you. They were ugly words, but they had the ring of a terrible truth. I am a practical woman, a gardener. When a plant is sick, you do not just wish it well, you diagnose the problem. I decided to diagnose this. I had always been private, avoiding the curated world of social media, but I made myself log on. I looked at Chloe's profiles, at Julian's. Their life was a glossy magazine spread. The photos from the founding family feast were there, of course, but I scrolled further back, looking with new, aching eyes. I saw a post from Chloe a month prior, a quote card shared against a beautiful background. It read, "Sometimes the healthiest thing you can do is create distance from people who see your life as an extension of their own." 100 people had liked it, including Julian. My face grew hot. I clicked on an article she had shared titled, "Navigating Enmeshment When Family Love Feels Like Control." I could not bring myself to read it. The implication was clear. I was being quietly, publicly positioned as the archetype of the overbearing mother, the one whose love was actually a form of suffocation. My enormous financial gift was being systematically reframed in their narrative, not as an act of love, but as a tool of obligation and control. The emotional vertigo was overwhelming. I needed to understand the concrete reality I was facing. I called my friend Beverly, a real estate attorney. I tried to keep my voice light, saying a customer of mine was in a tricky spot with family money. I asked about gift letters for mortgages. She explained them clearly. The bank requires a signed letter stating the money is a gift, not a loan, to ensure the borrower does not have additional debt. I had signed that letter for Julian. With that letter, she explained gently, there is no legal expectation of repayment. It severs the financial tie in the eyes of the law. I thanked her and hung up, then pulled my own bank records. Seeing the single transaction, the transfer of $85,000, the majority of the security his father had left for me felt like a physical blow. Then I saw the second smaller transaction, $20,000 paid directly to Northwest Premium Flooring. Julian had called me in a panic 2 weeks after closing. The flooring they wanted was a special order, and the company required a 50% deposit up front. Their cash was all tied up in moving costs. Could I cover it? Just for a few weeks, he said. Of course I could. That payment was not part of the mortgage gift letter. It was just my credit card, a separate promise. Sitting at my small kitchen table, the spread of papers before me felt like a map of my own ruin. The emotional heartbreak was now underpinned by a stark financial reckoning. My retirement, my safety, my future had been handed over. And in return, I had been reclassified. I was no longer core. I was an in-law, a boundary. A strange metamorphosis happened in the week that followed. The acute weeping grief hardened into a cold, silent resolve. They expected drama. They expected tears and pleas and guilt-laden phone calls. That was the script for the overbearing mother, and I refused to play my part. My silence became my weapon and my shield. I did not reach out. I went to work. I pruned roses. I helped Mrs. Henderson pick out azaleas for her granddaughter's wedding. I lived my life, but inside I was planning. I gathered every document, the bank statements, the copy of the gift letter Beverly had helped me find in my files, the invoice from the flooring company. I rehearsed conversations in the quiet of my car. I called Beverly back this time more directly. Beverly, hypothetically, if a person gave a large financial gift predicated on a shared understanding of continued family inclusion, and that inclusion was explicitly revoked, does that change anything legally? She was quiet for a moment. Emotionally, it's a breach of trust, Nettie. But legally, a gift is a gift. That letter is powerful. However, she continued a separate payment to a third-party vendor, especially if goods or services are not yet fully delivered. That is a different matter. The giver might have more recourse to halt or retrieve those funds. A narrow path forward lit up in the darkness of my mind. I would not go after the down payment. That money was gone, a monument to my love and my blindness. But the flooring payment was different. It was recent. It was specific. It was a tangible thread still connecting me to that house, to that shiny new floor I was not welcome to walk on. I opened my laptop and drafted an email. It was brief, devoid of emotion, written in the cold language they seemed to prefer. The subject line was financial reassessment. The body was 3 lines. It stated that following their clarification regarding my status as non-family for foundational family events, I found it necessary to formally disentangle our finances. As such, I would be revoking my $20,000 payment for the flooring installation and contacting Northwest Premium Flooring to cancel the authorization. I would appreciate their direct communication with the vendor going forward. I did not send it. I saved it as a draft. I waited. I watched the silent phone. I checked my email. I was waiting for a sign, for a single gesture of humanity from my son that would make hitting send impossible. The sign came on a bright Saturday morning. I was arranging a bouquet of sunflowers when my phone chimed with a notification. Chloe Bradley had added new photos. My thumb hovered for a second before I tapped it. The album was titled Memories of a Perfect Night. It was the founding family feast in high definition. There was the sprawling farmhouse table, the one that fit in the dining room my down payment helped secure. It was draped in a linen runner set with elegant stoneware I did not recognize. Candles flickered, wine glasses gleamed. There was a photo of Julian, my Julian, with his head thrown back in laughter. Chloe's father, S, arm tightly around his shoulders. The older man pointing at something off camera with a proud grin. The resemblance to pictures I had of Julian with his own grandfather stole my breath. The final photo was a group shot. Chloe, her parents, her sister, and Julian, arms around each other, cheeks pressed together, smiling at the camera. The caption read, "Home is not a place, it is your people. So grateful for my family." The period at the end of that sentence felt like a full stop. My family, not ours, not our family, mine. The exclusivity was absolute. I zoomed in on the image. Behind their happy faces, I could see the flooring. It was beautiful, a wide plank oak with a subtle hand-scraped finish. It caught the candlelight perfectly. My $20,000 was right there, glowing beneath their feet, supporting the very foundation of the family unit I was deemed too weird to join. In that moment, something final snapped inside me. Not with a bang, but with a quiet, definitive click. The last flicker of hope, the childlike belief that he would come to his senses, extinguished. The pain did not intensify, it transformed. It solidified into a clear, cold, unshakable certainty. They had made their choice. They had drawn the circle and left me out. Now it was my turn to act. At 9 a.m. on Monday, I hit send on the email. Then, without a moment's hesitation, I picked up the phone and called Northwest Premium Flooring. I was put through to an account manager named Derek. I gave him my name, the project address, the invoice number. My voice did not quaver. I explained that I was canceling my credit card authorization for the $20,000 deposit on the Bradley project effective immediately, and that all future billing would need to be directed to the homeowners. Derek sounded confused. "Ma, the materials have been delivered to the site. Installation is scheduled to begin tomorrow." "I understand that," I said, my tone firm and polite. "However, I am not the homeowner. I made a conditional payment that is no longer appropriate. You will need to contact Julian or Chloe Bradley for payment. If there is an issue, they can speak to my attorney." I gave him Beverly S. name and number. The use of the word attorney felt foreign in my mouth, but it had the intended effect. Derek, now wary, agreed to flag the account and contact the clients. The detonation was immediate. My phone began to ring before I had even set it down. It was Julian. I answered. His voice was a raw, screaming thing I did not recognize. "What did you do? What the hell did you do? We have the installers coming tomorrow. The flooring is sitting in our living room. They are saying we owe $20,000. Do you want to ruin us?" In the background, I could hear Chloe wailing a high-pitched sound of pure rage. "She's trying to destroy us. She's a monster." I held the phone slightly away from my ear, letting the hurricane of their anger blow past. When his shouts subsided into ragged breathing, I spoke. My voice was calm, flat, a placid lake after his storm. "You defined the family unit, Julian. You sent the text. You called me an in-law. You said my presence would be weird for your core family. I am respecting your boundary. Part of respecting that boundary is disentangling our finances. The down payment is my loss to bear, but the flooring money was for a house I am not family in. I am taking it back for my own family, which is just me now." The silence on the other end was profound, total. I heard a choked sound, then the call disconnected. He tried calling back 6 more times in the next hour. I sent one final text message. "I need space. Do not contact me for 24 hours. Then, with a trembling finger that grew steadier as I did it, I blocked his number. It was not an act of hate. It was an act of surgical self-preservation. I was removing a source of immediate poison so I could begin to heal. The aftermath was a long, ugly season. Unblocking his number after a day unleashed a torrent of guilt-ridden, angry emails. He accused me of betrayal, of wielding money as a weapon, of not understanding the pressures of a new marriage. Chloe's parents' people I had met exactly twice sent me a long, indignant email about integrity and family support. Mutual friends people from Julian's childhood soccer league or high school sent gentle, bewildered messages asking if everything was okay, having heard vague whispers of a financial dispute. I let Margot run the shop for a few days. I leaned heavily on Beverly for legal phrasing. and I did something I had never considered before I found a therapist. Dr. Rosario was a kind older woman with gentle eyes. I did not go to grieve the loss of my son. I went to excavate the betrayal and to learn how to build a new life on the crater it left. After a few weeks of silence, I wrote Julian a letter, not an email, a real letter on the simple cream stationery from my shop. I wrote about the boy who loved catching frogs, who cried at sad movies, who called me every single day his first week of college. I wrote about my love, which was unchanged. And then I wrote about the hurt, the deep fundamental fracture caused by his words and actions. I ended with my conditions, my new boundaries. Any future relationship would require 3 things: a genuine apology that acknowledged the specific pain caused a commitment from both him and Chloe to attend family counseling with me, and a mutual demonstrated understanding of respect that included my place in his life. The door is open, I wrote, but it is no longer off its hinges. I am living my life. I mailed it and exhaled a breath I felt I had been holding for months. Then I took the $20,000 that reappeared in my account. Instead of tucking it away as a sad reminder, I used it. I hired a local carpenter to finally renovate my tired apartment above the shop. I bought myself the deep, comfortable reading chair I had always wanted and placed it by the window overlooking my garden. I joined a community gardening club and found solace in talking about compost and rose blight with people who asked nothing of me. The silence from my son was a vast, empty continent on my emotional map. But slowly I began to explore and populate the rest of the landscape. I learned to appreciate the peace of a dinner for one. I rediscovered my love for mystery novels. The flowers in my shop, which I had nurtured for decades, seemed to bloom with a more vibrant resilience, as if reflecting the care I was now giving myself. The lesson I learned was not about vengeance or winning. It was about profound alignment. Love should never demand that you bankrupt your soul or your savings to purchase a seat at the table. Family is not a title bestowed only when you are silent and compliant, nor is it a debt incurred by a check. True family is a mutual offering, a shared space. If someone shows you in word and deed that you are not family enough to them, believe them. Then with every ounce of courage you can gather, you must reinvest that love, that energy, those resources back into the one person who will never leave you, who will always be your core, your home, yourself. I still think of Julian. I still sometimes talk to him in my heart when I see a father and son in the shop, or when his favorite song comes on the old radio. I hold a quiet, fragile hope that one day he might find his way back to a wider, more generous understanding of love. But my happiness, my peace, is no longer tethered to that hope. Whether that day comes or not, I have built a life that is whole. Nettie's nest with its scent of earth and blossoms, and Nettie herself are finally authentically home. If this story touched a place in your heart, if you have ever had to make the agonizing choice to respect yourself when others did not, I would be honored to hear from you. Please share your thoughts or your own story of strength in the comments below. Your voice matters in this conversation. If my journey resonated with you, please hit the like button. It lets me know these shared experiences are important. And if you would like to join me for more honest reflections on healing family and finding peace later in life, please hit subscribe and share this video with someone who might need to hear this message today. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for listening and for being part of this community. Remember, your peace is your most sacred responsibility. Protect it, nurture it, and build your nest around it. Be well and be kind to yourselves.